After a long-time downturn, Vietnam real estate markets may finally be showing signs of recovery. According to foreign investment agency, under the Ministry of Planning and Investment, real estate was the second most attractive FDI sector after losing $1.13 billion in the first 7 months 2014. Even in the July of lunar year, contrary to prediction, the Vietnamese real estate is moving and warming up. The number of successful transactions strongly increased, while many construction projects have resumed their work.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Sharing Vietnam on NetViet VTC 10. As you may know, the real estate market is recently showing signs of recovery with more real estate transactions, especially in adjacent and villa segments. In order to have a closer look on Vietnam real estate market scene, the difficulties as well as the answer to general direction of development in the second quarter, we will meet with a specialist in Asia-Pacific real estate research during her visit to Vietnam. Currently, she is the Managing Director, Research Department, Asia-Pacific of Cushman and Wakefield. Hello, Ms. Sigrid Zialcita, and welcome to our show.
Good morning. Hello. Thanks for having me today.
With a number of years studying Southeast Asia real estate markets, including Vietnam, how do you assess Vietnam real estate market in second quarter 2014?
Okay. Well, for the second quarter, on the residential side, because we also monitor the commercial market, let me start off with residential. I think we're seeing signs of activity. Whether or not that is actually a sign of a turnaround is something that we still have to make a determination. Probably in the next quarter, we could probably have a better sense of whether or not the market has turned around. But on the residential, again, activity a little bit up. Prices, I think it would vary depending on what the project is. Obviously, if the project is in the CBD, District 2, District 7, prices are holding up, I would say, and we do expect them to even get better as the overall environment improves. On the commercial side, I think it's a little bit of a tale of two markets for Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi. I think activity somewhat rebounded much, I would say, or at a faster pace here in Ho Chi Minh compared to Hanoi. But the overall, I would say, vacancies, and that's what we track, and that means like just the options out there, definitely much less for Ho Chi Minh, and still a lot more in Hanoi. It's just we have a lot of new supply in Hanoi right now. But this is likely to be temporary, I would say, for Ho Chi Minh, because new supply will be coming in next year. Now, let me just compare that with the rest of Southeast Asia. If you look at, I would say, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, activity actually is quite strong. Indonesia, compared to the past, I think it's moderated just because of the elections, and so somewhat activity has been more like plateaued. But we do expect with the election, with the results out already, they have a new leader there, and we do expect activity to come back. Philippines, red hot. Again, I think the growth rate there has been quite phenomenal, a lot of positive momentum. So whether or not you look at from the residential or the commercial side, very, very positive. The only thing I think that's sort of like an outlier is Thailand, just with the lack of resolution in the political environment. It's sort of like weighing on the overall sentiment on the residential as well as the commercial side. However, I don't think this will be something that's going to be on a prolonged basis. I think they have a history of resolving things and things coming back once again.
So we can see that you have just talked about the advantages that Vietnam has. So what about the disadvantages that Vietnam real estate has?
It's a tough one because I think there are also a lot of disadvantages, I think, in other growth markets. I think the biggest one, I would say, biggest challenge, I think, is just the lack of transparency. And this is something that a lot of investors obviously have difficulty with, whether or not the market is going to be on an uptrend or is it going to be bumpy along the way. It's really tough. I think that's something that's obviously common to a lot of the emerging markets. That I think it's not going to be a smooth ride. Right, and obviously that's for any investor looking for stability, not at all. This is not the market for them. But if you're looking for opportunistic returns, and I'm saying like very sizable returns compared to other markets, then you know what, this is the market that you can look at, Southeast Asia as a whole.
In your opinion, what Vietnam real estate market should learn from other markets to be more stable?
Very good question. I think just the overall economic planning. I think if you look at a lot of these developed markets, right, the underpinning of their growth is what? A very solid economic platform, right? And so that means that Southeast Asia as a whole and Vietnam, that the governments have to be investing in, I would say, structural reforms. Very, very critical in ensuring the long-term economic expansion. I say that because, again, if you look at it, you have a strong economy, people will have the jobs, and having jobs will allow them to have hopefully higher incomes in the future and be able to spend, whether on consumer items or big items, right? Like I would say residential, right? So I think just having a strong economic platform would really help develop the real estate sector for Southeast Asia.
According to the second quarter of 2014 of the real estate consulting services company Cushman and Wakefield, the office rented market in Ho Chi Minh City, Sydney Tower entered the market has been 16,000 square meter at Grade B space. Rent costs of all grades are steady and is expected to continue to the end of the year. In Hanoi, renting and occupancy rate has continued to decrease, and with Lotte Center will enter the market in the coming quarter. It is expected this trend will continue as there is an excess of supply over demand.
Regarding the market outlook, Vietnam real estate market is said to have shown positive signs with a number of successful transactions, especially in housing segment. As an expert in this field, how do you assess this situation?
It's kind of like too soon to tell in terms of this is something that could gain traction over time. I think, again, right now, given the lack of any kind of growth catalyst, whether it's Vietnam or overall global macro landscape, it's kind of difficult to say that this will be something that's going to happen or recur anytime soon. Okay, but there's hope. I think in the overall macro landscape, we're seeing some improvements, right? I think some good stories coming out of the US, also out of Europe. And the reason I'm saying this is that our region is actually tied to what export activity. And if we have a lot of our partners, right, coming back, growing again, that should help us go back on a faster growth trajectory.
With years of experience doing research covering Asia-Pacific real estate market, which will be the most potential segment to grow further in Vietnam particularly and other neighboring countries generally?
Tough. I always say that it depends on what the investor is key on. There's no right or wrong when it comes to investments. I think just looking at the whole investment spectrum, if you are into residential, you have some spare cash. I'm just talking about, let's say, a household, right, for saving up for the family in the future. I think real estate obviously could be a good long-term play, not short-term play. Okay, so why do I say this? I've talked about, I think, over the long term, I think this economy still has a lot of room to grow, right? Now, from an investment standpoint, I went on a market tour again, like last week, and it was really kind of nice to see a lot of the prominent developers out here. And I'm not surprised, right? I mean, I'm based in Singapore. A lot of them are Singapore developers, and they still have a lot of confidence in this economy, right? So I think if there's anything, that's a barometer again of hopefully things to come. So whether or not on the office side, retail, I think there's still enough, I would say, momentum in those sectors if you're looking at those property types. However, I do want to mention too that it's also finding the right partner, right? Because again, this is not an easy market to navigate. So a company like us could help you navigate a challenging market, understand what the dynamics are.
Obviously, in Vietnam, you can see the two most developing markets are Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. At the moment, is there any outstanding differences in terms of train, price, etc. between these two markets?
Sure, good question again. I'm thinking just for the residential, I think there's much more activity out here. I think, again, the well-located projects, we're seeing activity. There's reason for that, right? And in terms of the commercial side, it's also the same thing. The only difference is that I think for the new supply, we have much less compared to Hanoi. I think the new supply still outpaces the demand over there, and so we're seeing actually vacancies in very high levels over in Hanoi. Ho Chi Minh, I think we've seen vacancies come down for this year, but likely to be temporary. Okay, because of again some new supply coming online. But I'm not too bearish about the whole market. Maybe we'll have some short-term, like moderate activity. But then again, this is not something unique to Vietnam. We're seeing also in other markets just because the whole global economy is moderating.
Do you have any suggestion to improve the investment environment in Vietnam in order to attract more foreign investors?
I think, again, it all boils down to just having a good economic story. I think the government is addressing that. Some of the structural issues that we've had, right? They've put into place some very good policies, and I'm very hopeful that that would really help, right? We're not expecting, obviously, some significant change right away. I think like any other country, when you have all of these changes, usually they happen over a period of time. So patience really is what we need in this market. And as I've mentioned a while ago, for real estate, you got to look at this with a long-term perspective rather than short-term.
Once again, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that our talk to Ms. Sigrid would help Vietnamese investors, businesses, and the government to have closer insights on their problems and to be able to give out solutions, creating impetus for a sustainable development for the real estate market in the near future. Any feedbacks or comments, please kindly email to sharingvietnam@vtc.vn. Thank you for watching and see you again.